Turning to a wrap of your top stories of the day, taking a live look at the House floor in Washington. You see the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. He's been talking now for about 2 hours. House lawmakers have been working through the night to pass President Trump's big, beautiful budget bill. Around 4 this morning, the lawmakers voted to advance that bill. It was a tight vote, 219 to 213. Right now, that debate is taking place before a final vote on the passage. Republicans are hoping to get this done this morning before the president's July 4th deadline.
A good Thursday morning. I'm here at Charlotte Douglas International, where a record number of folks are expected to travel for this 4th of July weekend. We can tell you Charlotte Douglas is expecting about 925,000 folks to come through this airport, even more making connections. So if you're coming out to the airport, come early, give yourself extra time to get here. Possibly get dropped off if you can, or take an Uber to the airport. If you have to park, reserve your spots ahead of time, and always check with your airline just to make sure there are no delays or cancellations due to weather. Have a great 4th of July weekend.
All right, if you are heading out of town this morning, it is so pretty out there. We have lots of sunshine. This I-85 at Statesville Ave. Traffic is flowing nice and smoothly, mainly green, but we are starting to see our typical backups here. You can see I-85 inbound lanes, then I-77 if you're coming in from York County. Not too bad currently. Some slowdowns also starting to build now on Independence, but that's just another typical Thursday morning. Chris?
Okay, let's get ready for it. It's going to be perfect for the fireworks display at the Knight Stadium tonight, and then tomorrow, all is well for grills, pool days, whatever you're doing for your 4th of July. A great day for Saturday as well, but clouds increase late day. We are looking at some rain, especially east of I-77 on Sunday. A cloudy day before it's back to the usual summer pattern.
All right, Chris.
A reminder, the news doesn't end here. We're live all day with breaking news, weather, and traffic.
That's on WCNC Plus. We are streaming live now. Join us.
Streaming live right now at 7 a.m. on the 3rd of July. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. A live look at the roads as millions of people are going to be hitting the roads and the airports for the holiday weekend. Majestic has a check on traffic in just a moment, but we're going to start things off with meteorologist Chris Mulcahy to find out more about our forecast for this Thursday.
It's a terrific Thursday. I'm super pumped about it. Our storm chances are taking a big step back. There's the slightest chance that you could have maybe a isolated one storm on the map, and I think that's more likely a little bit further down to the south. You have this little front that's trying to sneak back into the area, but nothing like we've seen previous days. Really, the big story of the morning as far as any hazards for your morning commute is really along 74 over in Wadesboro. 0. That's the visibility right around Anson County, down to a quarter mile. That's what the .3 represents. We're around here, around Chirra, and then less than a mile in Rockingham. It's about this hour, really between about 7 to 9, so the next 2 hours, that we start to the fog. Typically, it'll start to peak during the 7 o'clock hour. During the 8 o'clock hour, it starts to move a little bit, and then it starts to lift up from the daytime heating. We are seeing some signs of visibility trying to drop off in other locations, but all is well. From Monroe over to Gastonia, up to Concord, to Huntersville, just naming a few. 74 is the current temperature right now at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. We have 69s for Hickory and Shelby, and loving that blue sky off in the distance. So we're heading into the holiday weekend above average, but we're going to have an above average time, right, y'all? 93 degrees for today. That's 3 degrees warmer than what we had yesterday. And then the lower 90s feeling like the mid 90s. Some spots feeling as much as 97, 98. But that mugginess is way down. The Knights are playing, but this is a special Knights game. It's Military Appreciation Night, but after the game, we have that Sky Show Spectacular, claimed to be one of the best firework displays in the Carolinas every year, and it's going to be absolutely a brilliant night. We don't have to worry about storms sometimes doing their own firework display. It's going to be nice and dry, mostly clear, and then temperatures still rocking about the lower to the mid 80s by the time the game's over. By the way, the game starts at 6:05. Again, the conclusion is where the Sky Show begins. Current temperatures already showed you that. I have that sneak back in. I'm getting repeats here. But here's the futurecast that I was alluding to. See the quick little blips of green that move through? That's it. Most likely, that doesn't mean anything. So many times you will see some little false reads. That represents still moisture in the atmosphere. So you might see some darker cloud bottoms, but it's more unlikely that you're really going to see anything develop. Our high temperatures, this is really interesting. We barely hit 90 degrees yesterday. 93 is our high today. There's only one day that looks like it could be trending in the 80s. And I know you've heard the script before yesterday from your weather guy. Yeah, I know. I looked, it was about early afternoon. I was like, well, 87 is definitely way too low. Well, we got 90 degrees. That cloud cover cleared out way too quickly. So sorry about that. But we will have a shot actually at getting to around the upper 80s, mainly because of cloud cover going forward. So today officially will be day 15 of 90 degrees, and we've been keeping track of the last 10 years. Now, the record stretch is 33 days in a row at 90. We don't want to do that. We're not going to do that. 15 days in a row, though, officially is number 5. And I think that we will finish at least at 17 days in a row on Saturday. But what's really an interesting development is the back half of the forecast. So here, for your 4th of July, we're looking at a great day. Lower to the mid 90s. You have a mix of cloud and sunshine on and off through the afternoon. It's great really for anything outside. It's just typical summertime hot. But I'm going to let the futurecast roll. Yet again, we have a chance for that little blips of green. Don't think it's going to come to anything, but watch what happens by the end of your Saturday. It's great around 1 p.m., but then clouds start to sneak in. That cloud cover is associated with a potential tropical low, aka a tropical depression and or a tropical or subtropical storm. So yeah, we could have Chantel that's developing before you know it, and that's why we have an uptick in our rain chances. I usually don't like to give you a 50% chance for rain. The main reason why, because people make jokes about us about flipping quarters, about us being right or wrong. But the reason why I actually have 50% in this case and scenario is that I think the I-77 corridor is the cutoff between rain and no rain. Now, of course, that could change if this trends a little bit further off towards the west. But as of right now, I think half of us see rain, half of us don't. But all of us should see that cloud cover, and that's why we have a high of 88 degrees. Beyond that, we have the lower to the mid 90s. We're getting right back in that usual summertime pattern where it's hot, it's super humid, and you will have a chance for a pop-up thunderstorm to end the day. today and most likely heading into the evening. Those chances become a little bit more voluminous across the area getting into your Wednesday and your Thursday because the front gets a little bit closer to the area. But yeah, we're definitely focusing in on Sunday. That is by far the biggest change that we have in the forecast going forward. But the next 3 days, A-OK. Definitely has my approval, and I know it has Majestic's approval as well. Hopefully this morning commute has Majestic's approval. Let's see.
It's not doing too bad, that's for sure. Most people are behaving as they're heading out the door. I-85 here at Statesville Ave. Good morning to everyone. It is absolutely beautiful outside for our Thursday morning commute. Grab those sunglasses. You'll want them throughout the day today. You can see, though, traffic is flowing nice and smoothly. Let's break down a few things you'll want to know. Want to take you out to I-85 if you're coming inbound. That's where we're going to start to see a little bit more congestion, but you know how it goes. We typically see that this time of the day. I-77, you can see all in the green, north and southbound lanes. So not a whole lot of congestion. If you're traveling out towards Uptown, looking all right at this point. One ongoing crash. It's a minor crash, though. It's at Glenwood Drive and Thomasboro Drive. Still seeing mainly green, so I'm not too concerned about it. And hey, if you're heading out to the lake today, maybe you're packing up the family and you're heading out to go camping or the lake house, whatever it may be, you can see from Cornelius, Mooresville up towards Troutman, it is all clear currently. And then even out towards Noda, Plaza Midwood, we do have our typical slowdown starting to build, but nothing too out of the normal. And off to the east, if you are traveling today, that area shaded in orange, that's where we do have really dense fog from Wadesboro, Rockingham, even down across Cheraw. That's where visibility is going to be reduced down to less than a quarter of a mile at times. So be ready for changing road conditions, because while a lot of us are seeing sunny skies, some of you may really encounter a lot of fog. We'll have another check on my area roadways coming up here shortly.
Majestic, thanks. Starting today, thousands of travelers expected to make their way to Charlotte Douglas for the July 4th holiday.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live this morning with a look at what to expect and how you can prepare now to make sure that your flight goes as smoothly as possible. And Richard, you said the airport seems to be getting busier as the morning goes on.
That is absolutely correct. Good morning to you, Lisa. Good morning, Ben. Good morning to all our folks out there watching us on the plus. I've decided to step downstairs, and you can take a look and see that things are picking up. They've been picking up. Good morning. They've been getting more and more crowded throughout the morning, and we're expecting some record numbers of folks traveling this 4th of July weekend, and a lot of them coming right through Charlotte Douglas International. Now, AAA reports a staggering 72.2 million Americans will travel from June 28th to July 6th period. And of those, 5 million, more than 5 million will be flying. That's up 1.4% over last year, marking an all-time high. Now, that's at airports nationwide. The TSA says they expect to screen over 18 million folks, 18 million passengers from July the 1st to the 7th. And here at Charlotte Douglas International, airport officials say they're preparing for nearly a million people. Well, let's just say 925,000 people, travelers between July the 3rd and the 8th. Now, that's a little bit down from last year, but those are still some unbelievable numbers. So if you're making your way out to the airport, it's going to be quite busy. So we want to give you a couple of tips. If you still travel to Charlotte Douglas, give yourself some extra time. You might want to take an Uber or something, or have someone drop you off here at the airport to save you some time. If you have to do the parking, you might want to check out one of those parking sites, or if here at the airport, reserve it ahead of time. That'll relieve some tension there, because a lot of the parking decks are getting packed and full. Also, be early. Come early as you can. And also, always remember, call your airline ahead of time, because sometimes weather might play a factor and it might cause some delays or cancellations. Take a listen.
One of the biggest challenges is what we can control, and that being weather. But as we do everything here, we have tools, we plan. We're tied very closely to our IOC, our Integrated Operations Center in Dallas. And we plan together to manage through situations like weather. And we have tools to adjust that. We have technology that we use to help us move customers through in those periods of weather.
I'm just kidding.
You could pull me in a second. No. Okay, so $50?
No, I'm just
She's just kidding. She's just kidding. So
No, it's free.
It's free. I know it's free. I know it's free. Oh, I'm back on camera. Anyway,
yeah.
No, we're gonna go, but I'll tell you another thing. If you have that real ID, yes, that's a camera. We're on TV for real. Yeah, for real. So anyway, if you come out to the airport, give yourself some extra time, call ahead. I know not all of us are like Ben and have a private jet, so we have to do these things, right, Ben?
I just feel bad for the airport worker diligently trying to do her job, having to deal with Richard Devane. How the security checkpoints looking there this morning?
She said I needed help. She said I needed help.
Well, she was right, probably.
Yeah. Just the security checkpoints are looking great. I haven't seen, and I've actually spoken to a couple of people, there's not been a big delay for people not having their real ID. So all those stories we've done about having your real ID has actually worked. A lot of people know what to do. They know how to come through, and they're getting through really easy. And I'm going to let her have her chair because folks need these chairs. They do a great job. They do a great job.
Does she have a name?
She's so sweet. She first wanted to charge me $50. I forgot. What did you say your name was?
Oh, my name is Flora. How you doing?
Flora. This is Flora. They want to know you on TV. Wave to Charlotte. Wave at the camera. Up there. Wave up there.
Hello.
That's
there,
Flora. You do a great job, Flora.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's not even. Oh my God! I didn't realize you're in the.
We appreciate Flora and all the airport workers out there, especially on a busy week like this. Richard and Flora, thank you both.
Well, right now we're going to switch gears and head to Washington. Take a look now. These are some live pictures from the House floor where we see the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking as lawmakers are debating near the final vote for the One Big Beautiful Bill. The Democratic leader, he's been speaking now for more than 2 hours. I think we're going to just listen in for a little bit about what he is saying.
The world will not forget that we say this. We know how to save the Union. The world knows we do know how to save it. Even we here, hold the power and bear the responsibility. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free. Honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve. We shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope of earth. That's America. Even to this day, the last best hope on earth. Extraordinary that Abraham Lincoln, in America's infancy, understood the importance of this country, not just for its citizens, but for the world. He urged this Congress, we shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope of earth. Other means may succeed, this could not fail. The way is plain, peaceful, generous, just. A way which, if followed, the world will forever applaud. And God must forever bless. That's presidential leadership. That kind of leadership is missing in the United States of America right now. Exhibit A is the fact that at President Trump's urging, Mr. Speaker, our House Republican colleagues are here ready to rubber stamp, recklessly rubber stamp legislation that will rip health care away from more than 17 million Americans. That's not leadership. That's not the leadership that this country deserves. But that's what the American people are experiencing because of Republican rule here in Washington, D.C. Yet we know, Mr. Speaker, that things can be different. At the very beginning of the preamble,
And you've been listening to the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking as the lawmakers have pulled this all-nighter regarding the One Big Beautiful bill. Around 4 o'clock this morning, they voted to advance that bill, but they have not yet had the final vote. NBC's Alice Barr is in Washington as we get closer to that final vote this morning.
Passed the One Big Beautiful bill.
Republicans grinding push to pass President Trump's massive tax and spending bill hitting a hitch in the House, where GOP holdouts held up a procedural vote for hours overnight before finally voting to move ahead. House Speaker Mike Johnson fielding calls from President Trump all night.
And said, who else needs to have a discussion? I'm ready to get on the phone.
The president posting after midnight, what are the Republicans waiting for? What are you trying to prove? MAGA is not happy and it's costing you votes. Earlier in the day, he met with holdout Republicans at the White House looking to ease concerns over the bill's spending, adding substantially to the deficit.
I think we got some good information from the president.
Speaker Johnson saying he wants to avoid ping-ponging the bill with the Senate so the House can't make any changes, even though conservatives don't like Senate adjustments to clean energy credits and the Medicaid overhaul. While moderate Brian Fitzpatrick was ultimately the only Republican voting no on the procedural step, along with all Democrats, who slammed federal aid cuts projected to cost more than 11 million Americans their health insurance.
The largest cut to health care in our history, the largest transfer of wealth from working families to the billionaire class.
The extraordinary things in this bill are so important for the American people.
GOP leaders adamant the bill's key components extending the Trump tax cuts while funding defense and deportations. And the president, who wants it all done, will prove too popular for Republicans to turn down. President Trump has been pressing all along to get the bill to his desk before the July 4th holiday break begins, with concerns that allowing lawmakers in both chambers to make more changes would stall momentum toward funding the president's top domestic priorities. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We're going to turn to the weather now and take a look at this. People in Atlanta got a real scare when they saw this huge menacing cloud. It looked like a tornado, but it turned out to be something harmless. The National Weather Service says it's actually a scud cloud. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy can explain more about scud cloud. That does look kind of scary, Chris.
Yeah, and this happens more than you think, but I was telling Trey, our producer here, that as far as scud clouds are concerned, this is one of the more tornado-like scud clouds that I've ever seen, just because you have that little appendage that drops down. So simply all this is actually called a fractus cloud, so that's really just a broken piece of the cloud that sometimes drops down. And in this case and scenario, you're always looking for rotation. That's not technically rotating. You actually see it growing, it's building. It's still associated with rain, but sometimes it can kind of separate itself, but then it still kind of hangs down from the cloud. Yeah, that one is, I would even second guess looking at it as well, especially from this angle where you can see that little spout that drops down and also the wider top. But nope, that is just a plain old scud cloud. The only way to really tell the difference is to see that rotation or not, and we didn't have that in this case and scenario. So yeah, craziness as far as that is concerned. So I understand why people might have been a little bit frightened by that one, but that happens all the time, believe it or not. Happening today, we're looking at a high temperature reaching 93 degrees. We're still going to have a real feel right around 96. I think we have a decent mix of cloud and sunshine building heading into the afternoon. We have that type of environment, high enough relative humidity. They can have a lot of those fair weather cumulus clouds, and let's focus in on that word, fair weather. Yeah, fair weather cumulus representing throughout the course of today. Could have a couple of darker bottoms. High temperatures reaching the lower 90s over the next several days, and our lows continue to be well above normal, and 72 degrees by tomorrow, still with a slight real feel by about 7 a.m. And I dug up the stat earlier. I've noticed that, man, we've really had some warm lows, where 22 of the last 30 morning lows, including this morning, has been 70 plus. That's actually rare because through the month of June, you average 65 to 69 degrees. You don't average 70 until July 5th. And the last time that we actually had a below normal low, June 3rd. And there's a reason why the month of June had the 5th warmest lows on record in Charlotte history. We continue to see those warmer lows, and that's actually kind of one of the results of climate change. That's the lows that have been historically getting a little bit warmer, especially when you have those hotter stretches. Doesn't really allow the body to recover as much. Our hourly forecast for tomorrow, great for grilling, great for cornhole, great for victories, whatever you want to do outside. 92 to 94 across the area. It really is going to be a picturesque 4th. I'm pretty excited about it. But back into the forecast, we're really keeping an eye on whatever this is going to do. Saturday, I think you're just fine. I think you're sunny most of the day. But if this does turn into a tropical storm, subtropical storm, or just a big bad low in general, it's going to bring more cloud cover. Typically, these type of tropical systems still have a really wide width. So that's going to allow it to have a big cloud coverage, a big cloud deck that will provide a cloudier sky on Sunday. Now, unlike yesterday, it's going to take a while for it to clear. So that's why we're calling for a slightly cooler forecast overall. As far as the QPF, the quantitative precipitation forecast, we're looking at up to about 1 to 2 inches plus along the shoreline. I think that could be a little bit more. It's really tough to judge these types of events because literally the front that passed yesterday is going to be a part of the equation that leads to this low developing. So we don't have all the pieces on the board, but we definitely are seeing a big shift in the weekend forecast. So those who are along the shoreline, we actually have a better forecast here in Charlotte just because of that low in general if you're planning on going to the beach. If this is a named storm, so far we've had 2 of them, it will officially be Chantal. We had Andrea that only lasted for 12 hours. We had Barry that was barely a tropical storm lasting for 18 hours. And likely even if this does become a tropical storm, this one probably won't even last a day as well. So some really short-lived ones. Doesn't look to be really super strong whatsoever, but still is going to adjust our forecast. I had to let you know about that. Our 7-day forecast, you can see the difference there. We're calling for that cloud cover. Now, if this trends a little bit further east, likely we're probably going to move our high temperature back to 90 and we'll let the hot streak continue. But the biggest thing it's going to do is it's going to drag in some tropical moisture and it's going to keep it there. It will be hot and humid, that typical summertime pattern. Better chance for pop-up showers and storms really return heading into next week. Let's get over to traffic to see how it's faring. Good morning, Majestic.
Good morning. Looks like a fantastic 4th of July tomorrow. That's for sure. Whether you're taking the family to a fireworks show or maybe you're heading out to go camping, it looks like it's going to be fantastic. You can see it's beautiful outside right now this morning. Clear skies, a whole lot of sunshine. Nice way to get the morning started. Here's I-85 at Sugar Creek. It is flowing nice and smoothly for you. Now let's break down what I'm looking at on my maps. Let's head out towards I-85. Usually we have more slowdowns at this point, but not really seeing too much. So yeah, if you do have some place to be, it's not going to significantly slow you down whatsoever. I-77 between 485 and once you're heading inbound, starting to see our typical slowdowns, but not any red right now. From uptown up to I-77, things look just fine. Still this one ongoing wreck. It's on Glenwood Drive and Thomas Borough. I'll continue to keep a close eye on that for you. And then again, I-77, if you're coming in from Troutman or Mooresville, good morning to you. Looks fine for now. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here in just a few minutes.
Hi, this is Larry Sprinkle. Time for On This Day in History. On this day in history, one of the most popular movies of all time opened, Back to the Future. It was July 3rd, 1985. Back to the Future starring Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. Earnings, $389 million. Some interesting facts about the movie. The original actor for Marty McFly was Eric Stoltz, but he was replaced by Michael J. Fox. So on this day in history, Back to the Future opened back in 1985. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Poor Eric Stoltz. Could have been a...
Not that he wasn't a great actor, but yeah.
But come on, Larry. He wasn't Michael J. Fox.
Not at all.
Check this out. The concept of the DeLorean time machine was actually developed by Allstate Insurance in the 70s. They partnered with John Z. DeLorean to create a small yet safe car model to present to lawmakers in D.C. How about that?
You occasionally see those around?
Yes.
Not very often, but yeah, it was a disaster, basically. The movie was amazing.
Sure. The movie was great. Yes.
Yeah, the whole Eric Stoltz thing, yeah. You know, Michael J. Fox was in Family Ties. He originally was picked, but he couldn't do both at the same time. But they saw Eric Stoltz. He didn't get along with the cast. He wasn't good enough, and they just did everything to make sure that Michael J. Fox was in that film.
And the rest is history.
There were 2 others. There were all the other 3 Back to the Futures.
Yeah. It was a Broadway play.
Yeah.
Yep.
Too.
People still love that movie.
They do.
All right, so here's the question. If you had a DeLorean or if you could go back in time, is there a specific year or time that you would go back to, or would you want to go to the future?
I don't want to go to the future. I'm afraid of the future.
Right.
Oh, but you know, I would go back to 1776. I want to meet those guys.
Wow.
You know what? I'm scared. That sounds good in theory. I'm scared I could not hang with the people of 1776.
Yeah, maybe the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always wondered what people smelled like back then.
Yeah, I'm not going back to that time.
It's the smell, the sights.
What about you, Ben Thompson? What would you do?
I'm okay where I'm at.
That's kind of I feel like this is the time it was meant for me to be.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would fit well.
The good here and now.
I'm not sure I would fit well in other times. All right, 7:25 right now as we take a live look right now over uptown. Another check of your weather and traffic coming your way right here on WCNC Plus.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here's your forecast. We're looking at a high of 93 degrees today, dealing with a mix of clouds on and off throughout the morning, heading into the afternoon, but nothing's really going to hinder you too much. High temperatures reaching the lower 90s right here around Monroe, and that'll be the norm. And I think we actually see a little bit more sunshine as we conclude the day. We cut really off the mid-level moisture, and that's going to allow for a breathtaking sky show spectacular extravaganza. Let's throw that word in there as well for July 3rd. You might be wondering, well, don't they usually do this on July 4th? Yes, you are correct. However, it's a unique schedule this week for the Charlotte Knights. Instead of a 6-game stretch, they're actually flipping around and going to Jacksonville for the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So instead of being 6 here days, they did separate it. So that's why it's the 3rd instead of the 4th this year. Going to be great here around uptown. The game starts at 6:05 going forward. So enjoy. Majestic?
All right, good Thursday morning, everyone. It is beautiful outside. There's a quick peek at some of those drive times. Coming in from Matthews, about 21 minutes. 30, though, if you're coming in from Gastonia. I told you, it is so nice for our Thursday morning commute. A whole lot of sunshine. Traffic is flowing nice and smoothly for the most part. We do have one accident that I am following for you. It's on Glenwood Drive in Thomasboro. Otherwise, your morning commute isn't looking too bad. Take it easy and have a great Thursday.
News. We're streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. As we get ready to celebrate the 4th of July, safety top of mind for a lot of first responders out there.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us live this morning with some important reminders. So, Destiny, what are the biggest risks that people should watch out for this weekend?
Well, emergency crews say the 4th of July is one of the busiest days of the year. They typically respond to calls related to firework burns, heat-related illnesses, and people getting injured and drowning incidents also around the water. Now, according to the stats from Medic, they say last 4th of July, they saw 2 firework burns and 1 drowning, but emergency calls went up 23% overall from the year before. The agency says most calls were for burns and heat-related illnesses. We also spoke with Novant Health, and they say burns from fireworks and sparklers are a serious risk during the holiday. Experts recommend leaving fireworks to the pros, but if you do use them, adults should be in charge. Keep kids at a safe distance when lighting them off, and keep some water nearby, like a hose or a bucket. They also warn that you should never relight a firework that doesn't go off.
We consider that a dud. So we just really advise families to not relight anything that doesn't go off, because you just never know. Again, you could go back and relight that and then it could go off unexpectedly or too soon. So just be really careful.
Brian also stresses water safety, whether you're at the lake or at the pool. She recommends life jackets and bright colored swimsuits for better visibility of children, and adults should rotate to serve as water watchers to make sure kids are safe. So the bottom line from first responders is basically just to take a little extra care in paying attention, be prepared, a little bit more awareness to make sure the 4th of July and the weekend for you is stress-free and safe. Ben, Lisa.
And remind us, what's the sort of the best course of action if you do get some sort of burn? Of course, if it's serious, go to the emergency room. What should people know?
Yeah, so Medic is responding really to those serious calls, those blisters, severe burns. But if it's a minor burn, you want to make sure that you run that burn under cool, not cold water for 10 to 15 minutes. Don't apply ice, ointments, oils, butters, nothing like that, because that can make the burn actually worse. And you want to make sure that you just call 911 or go to the emergency room if it's in any sensitive areas or, you know, it's an obviously serious burn. And when we talk about fireworks, of course, we're talking about what is legal. Nothing that is a projectile or explodes is legal in North Carolina. So typically sparklers, noisemakers, and those snake and glowworms, those are typically legal. And it's actually sparklers that can be a real issue for young children. That's where they see the most responses for burns. Either to the hands or even to the face is when young children are handling those sparklers, so just be really careful.
Yeah, keep in mind, if you live in Pineville, your rules are different than a few miles south in South Carolina. Your rules and your neighbors are going to have different rules to go by, so just keep that in mind. All right, Destiny Richards reporting live for us here in Charlotte. Destiny, thank you. All right, 7:33 right now on WCNC Plus. Turning back to your 3rd of July forecast with Chris.
Yeah, not as celebrated, not as widely liked as well. Sorry about this. I don't know why you're not seeing the popsicle sticks that are supposed to be here for my graphic. Let's see, there it is. Okay, so our headlines for today. The 3rd of July looking pretty great. We have a drier but hotter forecast. Storm chances low. That's what we're talking about. I mean, you barely have a storm chance today. Most of us staying dry. I think you just see the early development, not the mature stage of those cumulus clouds, because the cumulus cloud grows like this, and then once it reaches a certain point, then we're talking about a cumulonimbus. 4th of July, hot and less humid. Tropical system, though, could affect Sunday. I'm not going to get to that right at the top of this half hour, but coming up, we're going to take a deeper dive into what's going on with potentially our next named storm. So we'll get to that. 90 degrees around Hickory, that's a high temperature. 93 for you in Salisbury, Albemarle, and then right around Charlotte doing the same thing. And we're doing it. We continue this streak. Yesterday was our best chance of not hitting 90 degrees, and the Charlotte reading said, no. I'm going to hit 90 degrees exactly at the buzzer by the end of the day. It was right about the 5 o'clock hour. And then today will be day 15 of that range, and we're likely going to continue that for day 16, day 17, and then there's a big question mark for this coming Sunday. Today we have a 10% chance for rain. That literally means a spotty rain chance. I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then you have goose eggs on Friday and Saturday. You have the same readings popping up here on a futurecast. It's very rare that a futurecast, even when you have no rain, will be completely blank. You need a high pressure system pretty much parked right over you, but we're seeing more clouds that mix in, so some of these greens could be representing some darker cloud bottoms, and then closer about the middle of the afternoon, we're going to have a chance for an isolated thunderstorm. I think if that does happen, I'm going to point out a few counties. I think it's Chester, Lancaster County, right in this zone. You have the best chance for an isolated storm, but most of us, I mean, I would even say 95% of us are staying dry or more. Through the coming weekend, though, 94 for the 4th, and then for the 5th of July, 92 degrees, and then Sunday's that big question mark. There's a lot of things that can change because we're tracking a low pressure system or a potential tropical system that hasn't even formed yet. So tomorrow you have a chance for some clouds. I think actually if I were to pick the sunniest day over the next 3, it's going to be tomorrow. But then on Saturday, we start off super sunny, but then this system is changing everything because you start to see that cloud cover by the end of the day, and there's signs of rain as early as 2 to 3 o'clock. Now, there's a good chance that we stay dry and the rain stays well off towards the east, but we also start to add some tropical moisture to the forecast, so it's feeling more humid, which could pop up a shower or a thunderstorm. So a much better chance for storms that day regardless. 7-day forecast also shows a cooler day on Sunday because of the lack of sunshine, but all this system needs to do is pull a little bit further east, and we'll see more sunshine, and likely highs are closer to 90 degrees, and we continue our streak, and then the low to the mid-90s heading into next week. You also notice a chance of the flashing lightning sign. That's going to be a better chance for those pop-up showers and storms to complete the day and head into the evening. So the usual summertime pattern is back in action, especially on Wednesday as a front starts to draw into the area. So happy 3rd, 4th, 5th of July, whatever day of July you want to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate our morning traffic. How about that?
Okay, it's always a celebration most of the time, unless we have some big incidents. But thankfully, today it's pretty quiet right now. I-77 coming in from York County. Good morning to you. We aren't seeing anything too out of the ordinary. Yes, cars are starting to become a little bit more congested out on those roads as people are waking up and starting their day. You can see it's going to take you about 21 minutes if you're coming in from Matthews and about 25 if you're coming in from Belmont. Want to show you my live traffic maps. A few things I'll let you know about. One ongoing wreck right here. It's been ongoing for a while now at Glenwood Drive in Thomasboro, but I'm still noticing mainly green, so it's not like we have a lane that's blocked. So some good news for you. Mainly quiet out there towards Noda and Plaza Midwood, and then off to the east if you are traveling this morning from Wadesboro out towards Rockingham, even Cheraw. This is where visibility is really reduced because there's a whole lot of fog outside, which is a little deceiving because right here locally it's actually quite gorgeous. I-77 at Carowinds. There's a live look outside. It is looking great. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here in just a bit.
You know, Majestic, if you plan to hit the roads this weekend, you may want to head out early to avoid some of the worst traffic. AAA predicts nearly 62 million people will hit the road this year for the holiday, including 2.3 million right here in North Carolina. If you're living today, experts say the best time to travel is sometime between now and noon. Between 2 p.m., 6 p.m., that's the worst time. So you don't want to do that. And then tomorrow, expect traffic issues between noon and 7. Right here on WCNC Plus, we spoke to AAA Public Affairs Director Tiffany Wright. She shared some tips to keep in mind.
Tiffany, in North Carolina, you're talking about historic travel numbers. Why is that? Why are we seeing the surge?
You know, we've been seeing the surge over the last few years, and if Memorial Day was an indicator of what we're going to see for this Independence holiday, it's going to be a busy one. I think the big reason why travel has just bounced back, I mean, it goes back to the pandemic. It goes back to restrictions being lifted and all of us being so excited about traveling. And what we're seeing at AAA as far as bookings go, as far as trips go, is that people aren't just, while they're taking the short jaunts to the beach or to the mountains, they're doing big bucket list trips, right? You know, you look at destinations, people are going to see Mickey, they're going to Orlando. We're talking about international destinations. They want to go see Rome. They want to go to Paris. So people are really taking advantage of traveling. They don't want to wait for another pandemic to happen or something like that to put these travel plans on hold. So I think that's the big reason.
Again, a lot of folks on the road, a lot of folks flying. What are some of the most common issues folks face either on the road or when they're flying?
Yeah, so, you know, we've seen an increase, you know, in just about every mode of transportation, planes, trains, automobiles. Everybody is going, you know, to spend this Independence holiday. And they're doing so, you know, just about any mode you can imagine. I think when it comes to airports, we always like to say the rule of thumb is, for a domestic flight to get to the airport 2 hours ahead of time, for international 3 hours. I would actually pad that. I would actually pad that another 30 minutes just to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to get through those security lines. It's just people don't expect. And for a lot of people, they haven't even traveled this year. So this is their first big trip and they get to the airport and they've got a rude awakening. They're going, wait, it's going to take me this long to get through the line. So I think the main thing is to make sure that you're getting to the airport on time. A lot of times we can't anticipate cancellations or delays, but you can do your part by making sure that you get to the airport on time. But yeah, it's going to be crowded. I would also say, as far as road travel is concerned, because you mentioned road trips, you're going to see a lot of congestion around tourist attractions, right? And around your big metro areas, around any kind of tourist attraction. So if you could avoid those areas, it's not easy to do, but if you can avoid those areas, maybe you'll see a little less congestion. But yeah, it's going to be crowded out there for sure.
You can watch that entire interview anytime right here on WCNC Plus. It strikes me that if you're one of those people like a lot of us and you stay around your neighborhood or general area,
yes,
and you don't explore, then you're going to get to the airport and you're going to see airports very different than it did 6 months ago because there's been so much construction. And I think that even goes on to road construction because Charlotte's a growing, thriving city. There's road construction. If you're not used to going over to that side of town, heads up.
And here's the thing. People say all the time, you just know, I can get there in 30 minutes or I'll get. Allow yourself that extra time. There's a reason that they said that because you just never know what can pop up.
Very true. 7:21 right now on WCNC Plus. And if you are a parent who depends on free summer school or after school programs, this story could impact you. The Trump administration pausing more than $6 billion in federal funding, and that includes programs right here in Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard shows us what could disappear if that money doesn't come through.
For many families, after-school programs and summer programs are a lifeline, but with money dwindling away, some may be forced to scale back or even shut down. After-school programs are more than just childcare. They're also a safe space for their children to finish their homework, eat a snack, and wait for mom or dad. A safety net that's now sitting in limbo for many families, with money being put on hold.
And that money was money that community organizations in big ways was able to use to fund their organizations.
Rodney McGill is the founder and executive director of Save Our Children movement. He says the lack of funding continues to put many programs in a tight spot.
Some people have put on additional charges because they don't have extra funding to pay for staff.
This comes as the Trump administration is withholding billions of dollars for after-school programs. That includes cuts to the 21st Century Community Learning Centers grant, potentially eliminating hundreds of after-school programs here in North Carolina.
That's 40 hours where children in low-income areas are in a situation where they're eating, they're socializing, they have supervision. Children are going to be affected.
As money sits in limbo, McGill says he's hoping organizations will find ways to make up for the losses, because for some kids, there's no plan B.
Instead of staff, get some interns. Instead of paying for food at these places, you got food services like Caring for America and organizations like Feed Charlotte that we work with to get us food in place.
Tradisha Woodard, WCNC Charlotte.
As House leaders work to push through that bill, critics warn it could cut Medicaid for more than 500,000 people here in North Carolina. Now, while the president argues that bill will cut wasteful spending, experts say it would hit people with pre-existing conditions, especially those living with HIV or AIDS. According to AIDS United, 40% of adults living with HIV rely on Medicaid for treatment. The bill would also slash funding for several HIV prevention and surveillance programs.
Do a lot of testing, which is all threatened in the bill. The funny thing about the entire situation is that there's really not that much communication. It's like it happens really fast.
Experts warn rural hospitals will feel the impacts first, and it could soon ripple into Charlotte.
A North Carolina doctor scrambling to figure out how she's going to continue her work helping sickle cell disease patients after the National Institutes of Health canceled her $750,000 research grant. They cited DEI and divisiveness as a factor. Amy Cho reports.
It's a blood disorder that causes excruciating pain. Sickle cell disease means the red blood cells are shaped like sickles and can't flow properly. That causes lifelong issues such as strokes, lung problems, and infections.
So basically, someone who's 50 years old, it was functioning like someone who's 80 years old. So that was what we found in our original pilot. So I really felt like we have to do something.
Dr. Charity Oyedeji is a hematologist at Duke University. For the past 8 years, she's been working on a project called Sickle Fit, which helps patients do physical therapy to deal with the chronic pain and health issues.
People that couldn't do something as simple as get out of a chair without assistance are able to do that now.
But 2 weeks ago, the NIH told her it's taking away her funding, citing a low return on investment. It also said studies involving DEI support unlawful discrimination on the basis of race, which harms the health of Americans.
I was very sick to my stomach when I first saw it. I just could not believe it. Even small disruptions in research can have really major negative impacts.
One patient tells News 4 the sickle cell research at NIH saved his life. Lindrick Holmes from Austin, Texas, took part in a gene therapy study that changed his blood cells back to normal.
It's a debilitating disease. My ability to actually do what everyone has been saying Americans should do, pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. I wouldn't be able to do that if without the research that was done.
Holmes is still taking part in a 15-year study on the long-term effects of the treatment to make sure it's safe for others in the future. And while his study is still being funded, Holmes says he was saddened to hear about the funding for Sickle Fit being slashed.
It feels like they're using DEI as a euphemism for another word, for another derogatory word towards people that they don't like.
As for Dr. Oyedeji, she's planning to appeal the NIH decision to cut her funds.
Evidence clearly shows that this type of research prolongs life, improves function. These grants were originally awarded because of their merit.
She also plans to search for other sources of funding and says she's hopeful her work can continue.
Amy Cho with that report. New data this morning shows fewer Americans plans to host cookouts or picnics this 4th of July. While most will still celebrate, experts blame rising food costs for the decrease. On average, Americans are expected to spend just over $92 on food this 4th of July. That's up from $90 last year and $71 just 10 years ago. However, the 4th of July remains the second most popular holiday in the U.S. behind the winter holiday. Well, for those of you who are firing up the grill this holiday weekend, you'll want to make sure that you do so safely.
WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg talked to safety experts to get some tips you'll want to keep in mind.
First things first, you'll want to make sure your grill is working properly.
If you aren't able to light a gas grill after the first 2 attempts, you need to turn it off, let it air out, and then inspect why that might not be working before you continue to try and light it to avoid any flare-ups or, big explosions of gas.
When it comes to the actual food, an important reminder from the USDA for the chefs: wash your hands, keep raw meat away from other food, and cook it to the proper temperature. For turkey and chicken, that's 165 degrees, 160 for sausage, and 145 for steak. When cooking, make sure there is enough space between the flames and your home.
You got to watch what you're burning and where the wind's blowing. If there's a lot of embers and it's blowing towards the structure, whether it's your house, your neighbor's house, your kid's playhouse, you got to monitor that, because sometimes those hot embers could result in a fire somewhere else.
Never leave a fire unattended, and put out the flames when you're ready to go in. When you're done, a reminder to clean the grill properly. Your wire brush can fall apart with a bristle getting stuck on the grill. If that ends up in your food and you swallow it, the consequences can not only be medically expensive, but also deadly.
One little bristle, unrecognized, could get lodged into various areas of the body, whether it's in the throat, in the tonsil region.
Megan Bragg, WCNC Charlotte.
7:49 right now. Turn back to your forecast. And folks in Florida preparing for a rainy holiday weekend. Many people spent the week shoveling and packing sandbags and shoveling in anticipation of a tropical storm. Crews have also been clearing out storm drains. Heavy rains over the next 5 days could drop 4 to 6 inches of rain in some of those areas. Chris, fortunately for us, we're not going to see anything quite like that, but not good news for folks in Florida.
Yeah, not good news. And I think there's still going to be some areas in the Carolinas that could be impacted by this system. It really is the precursor rain on top of some of the outer bands that are happening with the system. It's going to dump a lot of rain. I think we could have upwards to about 5 inches of rain in some locations heading through the weekend. So yeah, we have a much better holiday weekend for us here closer to home. But even on Sunday, I think you might see the cloud cover from this system for at least the Charlotte area. But now we have a new update from the National Hurricane Center. It's now a 60% chance for development for at least a tropical depression. This is either going to be tropical storm to subtropical storm Chantal, likely at some point in the middle of this weekend. And then that's what's really going to change up our forecast. Saturday, you're good. Enjoy the day outside. Sunday, you might see some rain. The impacts are so far from us, but if you were planning a beach trip, this is not good news for you, just letting you know, because you're going to see a lot of rain in some sections. Here's how it all goes down, though. The front that actually just passed is going to slow down towards the south, and this low eventually is going to build and meander right here off the Florida coast. So that's why they're seeing so much rain. But the newest trend is going to have this drive into the Carolinas. So we potentially could have a landfalling tropical storm here in the Carolinas for your holiday weekend. So this was a possibility, but it's looking like it's coming a little bit more fruition. So check it out. You see that tight rotation starting to really develop as you work your way through your Saturday. This is Saturday at 4 p.m. right here. Once you get a closed low, winds up to 40 miles per hour, and then a vertically stacked storm. It has to be a warm core. There's also some other subsections that can make it a subtropical storm. You're calling it Tropical Storm Chantal. And this right here looks like a solid tropical storm. Could be talking about 50 mile per hour winds at some of the gusts on some of the eastern side of things. So really from Wilmington to Myrtle Beach, right now in line that you could have a pretty decent rain event and then also some gusty winds up to 50 miles per hour. So tropical storm force winds. Never a good situation for a beach day. That's also going to really create a dangerous rip current as well heading into the weekend. But look at Charlotte. All that white, that's representing a cloudier forecast by your Sunday morning. Now here's the deal. As this pushes its way off towards the north, it's going to bring the cloud cover with it. So you could have some sunshine a little bit later on the day. So not all is lost. Already our 4 to 5 day rainfall outlook picking up on the blues. That's only showing up to about an inch. I think realistically it will be in more of the purple or the red that's representing at least 2 to 3 inches of rain associated with this. I think maybe even up to 4. If Florida is seeing 5 inches for not even a direct landfalling tropical storm, yeah, I think some areas, at least along the shoreline, could see a whole lot more. So our next name, as I mentioned, is Chantal. And what's interesting, Andrea and Barry still haven't lasted a day. If this develops, likely this won't even last a day, maybe 12 to 18 hours that it will be named Chantal. Quick update for the Saffir-Simpson scale. Whenever winds at 74 miles per hour, that's when it's category 1. We're not going to be anywhere near that. The difference between a tropical and subtropical storm, as I was mentioning, it's all really about where the center is. So the strongest winds are away from the center in a subtropical storm, and it's fueled a little bit more by a front and warm water. I think we're a little bit more spreading the needle towards a subtropical storm, but I think we have a really high likelihood that we're talking about named storm number 3 for the season. One last update, our rip current forecast is at a moderate right now from Oak Island up to around Hatteras. It will be at a high Friday through Sunday. Dangerous rip currents along the shoreline even before this system arrives. So keep that in mind if you are going to the beach, especially with that system drawing closer and closer. So that is your tropical update. Get ready for a lot more of those as we head throughout the summer. Now get ready for a traffic update from Majestic Storm. Good morning to you.
Good morning. It is beautiful outside. Taking a live look. This is I-85 at Sam Wilson Road. You can see nothing but clear skies and sunshine, plus a whole lot of cars now out on those roads. Again, we aren't seeing any major concerns on I-85 or I-77, so that is some good news as you're heading out. If you do have someplace to be on this Thursday morning, one crash right here still on Glenwood Drive in Thomasboro. Still noticing mainly green, so we're not seeing any blocked lanes or anything like that. As we're heading over east of Charlotte from Noda to Plaza Midwood, we do have a crash right here. As we zoom it in, you can see some impacts there. You can see that orange indicating that cars are moving rather slowly. It's on Tryon Street and 36th Street. And then as we head up to the north, you can see another one here, Graham Street and Sugar Creek Road, impacted by this crash. So make sure you're just taking it easy if you do have someplace to be. Now, if you're traveling today, you may even encounter a little bit of patchy or dense fog well east of Charlotte. It's out towards Wadesboro, Sherrard, Rockingham. I've been watching you as well. So so low visibility at times. Otherwise, if you're taking I-77 up from South Carolina, Rock Hill, Fort Mill, good morning to you. Not seeing anything too out of the ordinary. Some slowdowns, though, if you're coming inbound from Independence. It is absolutely beautiful for your morning commute. Grab those sunglasses and take it easy as you head out the door.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but make sure you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to be back with another update on weather and traffic, as well as the day's top headlines, streaming at 8 o'clock.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful day today. We're back into the lower 90s by the afternoon, already up to 78 degrees. We have clouds at different levels in all different parts of the area. Some low-level clouds, getting rid of some fog the further off towards the east, and then we also have some upper-level clouds right over the Charlotte area. 93 for your high today, and we're rocking the low to the mid-90s over the next 3 days. By Sunday, a better chance for some rain as a tropical system starts to nudge into the area. So scatter rain possible on Sunday before we're back to that usual pop-up shower and storm criteria that we are so familiar with during the summer months. 88 degrees on Sunday. That's only if we have the cloud cover. There's still a chance for more sunshine that could bring us a little bit closer to 90 degrees. So Sunday's the big question mark. After that, summertime as usual. Highest chance for rain, though, on Wednesday as the front starts to edge towards the area. Majestic, what's going on this morning?
Oh, it's beautiful outside today. Looks like a 10 out of 10 forecast for the 4th of July, especially if you're heading out, you're going to the lake, maybe you're heading up to go camping. Look at how gorgeous it is right now. Lots of sunshine. This is I-85 at Sam Wilson Road. I'm not seeing any major concerns if you do have someplace to be early this morning. A few minor accidents, though. This one here on Tyvola Road and Park Road. You can see some yellow there indicating that at times traffic may be a little slow. And then another one here out towards Noda Plaza Midwood. Make sure you're taking it easy. It's right there on Tryon Street and 36th.
You are streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. A live look right now over Baltimore, Maryland, as millions head out for the holiday weekend. If you are headed to the airport right now, Charlotte Douglas reporting some cancellations. In fact, 3 cancellations and 27 delays. But as you can see, this live look from Baltimore, the roads appears to be busy, the interstate there, but not too busy for 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning.
In fact, starting today, thousands of travelers are expected to make their way to Charlotte Douglas for the July 4th holiday.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live this morning with a look at what to expect and how to prepare now to make sure that your flight goes as smoothly as possible. Richard.
Yeah, Lisa, good morning to you. Good morning, Ben. Good Thursday morning, everybody out there on the Plus. Wanted to talk about those cancellations. I saw one in Washington, D.C., and I saw one in Huntsville, Alabama. Don't think there was a weather-related right now, so those could be mechanical cancellations because we've seen other flights to those same airports taking off today. But take a look now at the crowds. The first checkpoint, or the checkpoint all the way back at the end of this concourse, that one is going pretty good. The checkpoint 1 over here that you can't see, that is really beginning to pile up. There are a lot of folks. Ruben's actually trying to get a shot of it. There are a lot of folks in that line. So this is the way it's going to be, because we're expecting some record-breaking travel passengers here at the airport, as well as taking to the roads this morning. Yeah, AAA is saying they're expecting 72.2 million Americans traveling over the period from June 28th to July the 6th. Of those, about 5.5 million, we'll just say, are flying, which is up over 1.4% over last year. That's an all-time high. Now, at airports nationwide, TSA is telling us that they're expecting to screen some 18.5 million passengers from July the 1st through the 7th. And they say Sunday is going to probably be the peak day. They expect to screen almost 3 million folks on that day. Now, here at Charlotte Douglas International, officials are preparing for nearly 925,000 passengers between the 3rd and the 8th. And that's a little bit down from last year's numbers, but that's still significant. So it's important. If you're planning to leave from Charlotte Douglas, you should give yourself some extra time to arrive at the airport. Things are going pretty good this morning so far. We want you to get here early if you can. Get dropped off at the gate. That'll save you some time trying to get through the terminal and everything. Get dropped off at the terminal. That'll save you time to get to the gate, is what I'm trying to say. You can take an Uber or Lyft or something to get you here. If you can't, get someone to drop you off. If you have to do parking, we want you to advance reserve it. That's the best bet. So because the parking lots are filling up pretty fast. And always, because as we've been talking about the weather, especially that stuff down in the Florida coast, we might see some delays or cancellations. So it's always best to check with your airlines. Take a listen to what AA is doing, American Airlines is doing to prepare.
One of the biggest challenges is what we can't control, and that being weather. But as we do everything here, we have tools, we plan. We're tied very closely to our IOC, our Integrated Operations Center in Dallas. And we plan together to manage through situations like weather. And we have tools to adjust that. We have technology that we use to help us move customers through in those periods of weather.
St. Martin. Liberia. Only got one bag.
Okay, just taking some flight attendants. One's going to Liberia, one's going to St. Mark's. What a life. I mean, they live the way Ben does. They get to enjoy themselves. I'm going to be here at the airport all morning talking about folks who get to travel for the 4th of July weekend. We'll send it back to you.
By the way, just for your amusement, Lisa is enjoying every bit of this.
I am.
So you're not alone. And by the way, I am right here right now, and I'll be here tomorrow on the holiday as well. Richard, so things moving smoothly
You're not taking
right
the
now
jet out this weekend. You're not at the taking the jet
checkpoints?
out. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me say this. Checkpoint 1, security checkpoint 1 is really getting, it was a lot longer a little bit ago, but it is still a wait. I would say from the way we look at it, we look at somebody and then we look at them a few minutes later. It's looking like 10 to 15 minutes. It's getting kind of long there. It's taking some time. So it's moving, but it's moving very slow. So that just reiterates the fact that you need to get here a lot earlier, because then, especially if you're new to the airport, if you haven't come through here before, you might need to find your concourse and then, of course, your gate. If you're in C, that is a long walk, folks, from where we are right now. So if you come out to the airport, it's important for you to make sure that you give yourself some extra time. Now the other checkpoint down there seems to be moving very well, and the TSA pre-check line is also moving smoothly this morning. Have a good morning. That's the situation right here at the airport.
All right, Richard Devane reporting live for us at Charlotte Douglas. Richard, thank you as always. All right, turning to your forecast right now, Chris Mulcahy joins us right now. And I mean, honestly, things are looking pretty good.
I know. I'm feeling really good about this. Yes, we didn't hit the 80s yesterday. Well, we did. We just didn't stay there. We did hit 90 degrees. But other than that, I'm feeling really good about that. We're continuing our 90-degree stretch. Also, a little weather nerd in me is it's pretty cool. If you look really closely, you can kind of see the up and down nature of some of these lower level stratus clouds. It's actually called a gravity wave. And the more that they fluctuate actually leads to turbulence, which actually connects to what Richard is talking about. Of course, not in the airport, but when the plane are in the air. A lot of upper level clouds across the area, just really showing the system that was once here. And we also do have a backdoor front that's around as well. The only ground cloud, the thick area fog that we're keeping an eye on is right here around Wadesboro, quarter mile there. It's usually during the 7 o'clock hour under these conditions that you have the densest and the thickest fog. Now that we're into the 8 o'clock hour, this will quickly start to lift, build, and then eventually we will see a no more visibility below 1 mile. So good things. We are heading in a really good direction. Perfect 10s pretty much elsewhere across our area. Afternoon rain chances, slightest spotty chance, but I think most likely you're staying dry. High temperatures right around 93 degrees. Real feel about 96, 97. That's where we've been. Did you know the last time we actually had 100 degree triple digit heat index? It was actually June 26th. So it's been a while. We've really been anywhere from 95 to 99 here in the Charlotte area recently. Your cloud cover forecast is also going to change as we head to the back end of the forecast. So we're actually looking at almost a crystal clear overnight. That's going to be great for the fireworks a little bit later on. 90 degrees for a high for you in Hickory. Good morning, Catawba County. 91 here around Statesville on the I-40 corridor. All is well either side of 90 degrees there. And then 93 across Charlotte and over to Albemarle. Grilling out? Well, I'm not doing it today. I'll be doing it tomorrow. But hot dogs by 5 p.m. Still toasty at 6 o'clock. And then light winds not really cooling you down too much. We're still rocking 90 degrees come 7 p.m. Then at that point, we transition into the 80s and then another night in the 70s. Here's the slight rain chance I'm talking about. Whenever you just see a green dot, I ignore that. It usually just means a little darkness to a cloud. But down to the south, you are seeing a sign of a thunderstorm. This is less than 5% of the area, but I think Chester and Lancaster County, you have the best chance of maybe an isolated storm. That would be about the middle of the afternoon, but that's barely a chance. But I feel like I have to mention it because the 10% you kind of ignore, but I don't want to be the one person that gets the one storm. It's like, Chris, you didn't say anything. Well, now I did. Your July 4th is looking at a 0. So I have pretty much a rain-free 4th, a rain-free 5th. Sunday changes a little bit. I think half the area will see some rain. This doesn't look to be a big washout. This is a tropical system that is potentially developing right off the Florida coast to the Carolina coast. That's where we could be seeing a lot of rain for the eastern side of the Carolinas, but barely making it to the Charlotte area. Tonight's forecast, lower 70s, as I mentioned, is another start in the lower 70s. And my stat of the day, I was counting our lows. The last time that we had a below normal low, June 3rd, we were 60 degrees that day. That was actually the coldest low for the month of June. June also had the 5th warmest lows in Charlotte history, so that says something. But 22 of the last 30 mornings, including this morning, we've had at least a low of 70 degrees. That is significant, and that's really been trending our average up over the last several months. The lows have been doing it more than the highs. 4th of July weekend, nothing too high, still slightly above normal by about 2 to 4 degrees, 94 to 92, but 88 on Sunday. That's the big question mark. I'm going to spend more time showing you exactly what you can expect heading into Sunday. There's still a lot of question marks, but we're going to be tracking that low pressure system when it potentially could be changing over to tropical storm or subtropical storm Chantal. But first, we have to name any incidents that are happening across the area. Majestic, take it away.
All right, good morning, guys. It's beautiful outside. Live look if you are heading outside. It's going to be nice. I-85 right right here at Sam Wilson Road. Of course, area roadways are going to get very jam-packed as people are coming in and out of town for the holiday weekend, but I really haven't seen a lot that's out of the norm for us at this point. Yeah, we do have multiple smaller accidents. We'll go through a few of them. This one here, it's on Tyvola Road and Park Road. You can see the orange right there indicating that traffic is moving rather slowly. No lanes are currently blocked though. And then if you are watching from Noda or Plaza Midwood, if you head that direction, we do have another crash right here, saying a lot of yellow, indicating just medium impacts. You can still get around the crash, but it's on Tryon Street and 36th. Now, what we're also continuing to follow is this. It's on Graham Street and Sugar Creek Road. You can see the yellow there again, not totally blocked, just moving a little slower, might slow you down a couple of minutes for that morning commute. And our newest accident is right here on Nevin Road and Cindy Lane, but notice all green right now, so not seeing a lot of impacts there. But if you are traveling, you're heading east and out of town, at times you'll need your sunglasses. At others, you're going to need to slow it down because you might be socked in with some really dense fog from Wadesboro through Sherrall, even Rockingham. So we'll continue to follow that. It's going to take a while before that fog mixes out and then we all get some nice sunshine. If you're coming in from South Carolina, I-77 from Rock Hill to Fort Mill looks all right. Not seeing a whole lot of red, and congestion is starting to build for some spots in Independence. Usually it's a lot more busy at this point, but right now we'll take it. Lisa.
Majestic, thanks so much. 8:11 now and some live pictures from the House floor. This is inside the U.S. Capitol this morning, where lawmakers have been working throughout the night to pass President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Right now, you see the House leader, Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat from New York, who is speaking now. Is getting a standing applause, I imagine, from Democrats, of course. He is speaking against this bill. It was around 4 this morning when lawmakers voted to advance the bill. NBC's Alice Barr is in Washington as we inch closer to a final vote.
Passed the one big, beautiful bill.
Republicans grinding push to pass President Trump's massive tax and spending bill, hitting a hitch in the House, where GOP holdouts held up a procedural vote for hours overnight before finally voting to move ahead. House Speaker Mike Johnson fielding calls from President Trump all night.
And said, who else needs to have a discussion? I'm ready to get on the phone.
The president posting after midnight, what are the Republicans waiting for? What are you trying to prove? MAGA is not happy and it's costing you votes. Earlier in the day, he met with holdout Republicans at the White House looking to ease concerns over the bill's spending, adding substantially to the deficit.
I think we got some good information from the president.
Speaker Johnson saying he wants to avoid ping-ponging the bill with the Senate so the House can't make any changes, even though conservatives don't like Senate adjustments to clean energy credits and the Medicaid overhaul. While moderate Brian Fitzpatrick was ultimately the only Republican voting no on the procedural step, along with all Democrats, who slammed federal aid cuts projected to cost more than 11 million Americans their health insurance.
The largest cut to health care in our history, the largest transfer of wealth from working families to the billionaire class.
The extraordinary things in this bill are so important for the American people.
GOP leaders adamant the bill's key components, extending the Trump tax cuts while funding defense and deportations. And the president, who wants it all done, will prove too popular for Republicans to turn down. President Trump has been pressing all along to get the bill to his desk before the July 4th holiday break begins, with concerns that allowing lawmakers in both chambers to make more changes would stall momentum toward funding the president's top domestic priorities. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
8:13 right now on WCNC Plus, and rapper mogul Sean Diddy Combs waking up still in jail this morning. A jury acquitted him of the most serious charges in his sex trafficking trial. Now he's seeking to be released while he waits for sentencing. NBC's Chloe Malas reports from New York.
Sean Diddy Combs sinking to his knees in the courtroom moments after a jury found him not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, the most serious charges he was facing. He was convicted on 2 counts of a lesser charge, transportation to engage in prostitution.
Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs.
In the courtroom, an emotional scene. Combs' lawyer wiping away tears as family members, including his 6 kids, clapped and cheered. His mother later blowing a kiss to the crowd as she left the courthouse.
It's a block party-like atmosphere outside the courthouse, with some people dancing and others protesting today's verdict. But one thing is for sure, they're here for a front row seat to history.
The jury of 8 men and 4 women deliberated for a total of 13.5 hours. Late Tuesday, they sent a note saying that they'd reached consensus on 4 counts, but were split on 1. They returned this morning deliberating for under an hour before announcing they had a verdict. During the 7-week trial, prosecutors argued that Combs was the leader of a criminal enterprise and everyone was there to serve him. They called 34 witnesses, including 2 of Combs' former girlfriends, singer Cassie Ventura and another known only as Jane. Ventura's lawyer today sharing her reaction to the verdict.
We're pleased that he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes, something that he's never faced in his life.
In a statement, the U.S. Attorney's Office acknowledged the victims, writing, "Sex crimes deeply scar victims, and the disturbing reality is that sex crimes are all too present in many aspects of our society." Combs opted not to testify, and his lawyers did not call any witnesses. They said he was put on trial for his lifestyle and didn't commit the crimes he was charged with.
This case was never what it was made out to be. This case was ridiculous in so many different ways.
He's also facing dozens of civil suits, but Combs is facing far less prison time than he would have if convicted on the most serious charges.
NBC's Chloe Malas with that report. Turning now to the weather, take a look at this. People in Atlanta got a real scare when they saw this huge menacing cloud. It looks like a tornado, but it turned out to be something harmless. The National Weather Service says it's actually a scud cloud. Chris Mulcahy can explain more about those scud clouds, and that really does look scary, Chris.
Yeah, this is definitely the most tornado-like scud cloud that I have truly seen in my career, just because you have to look very closely to make sure that it's not rotating. And there's some other factors that are usually entwined about this, but this is actually technically called a fractus cloud as well. So a fractus cloud just literally just means a piece of a cloud, and some of them are a little bit scarier than others. Check this one out. This is an example. This is actually about 25 years ago that this photo was taken. This is another scud cloud off in the distance. It looks like kind of like a tilted tornado. Nope, just a piece of a cloud. Here's a classic example. It's usually just the little appendage that comes down from a storm. So the key here is every time you see something kind of lowering, if it's not rotating, it is not a funnel. It is just a piece of a cloud or a scud cloud. And now you know. Thanks a lot to the National Weather Service as always. This is where I got some of these photos. We don't have any nearby ones in our system, so it's always nice to get some of those sources there as well. I also said that I was going to talk a little bit more about this, and I think this is a really interesting development because this is our at least closest tropical storm potential that we've had so far this season. Of course, hurricane season officially started June 1st, and now we have a 60% chance for development. Now, Florida's already preparing with sandbags for heavy rain, and I think that it's going to be parts of the Carolinas that need to prepare for at least 2+ inches of rain heading into the holiday weekend. Not a great situation where some people might be planning to go to the beach for the holiday weekend. This is going to impact your forecast. That's a big development. We were looking at a slight chance, 20, 30%. Yesterday was 40. Now it's starting to get into the 2-day time frame where I think it's really going to be late Saturday that this is potentially becoming either a tropical depression and or a subtropical storm. We're kind of leaning that general direction. We'll take a deeper dive exactly what the two terms mean, but I want to show you exactly what this looks like. Let's move over the next couple of days. Notice the time here. This is Saturday at 2 a.m. At this point, you have pieces of a front combined with a low that is starting to circle on itself. Literally a hurricane, tropical storm, even a tropical depression. They all start as a bunch of thunderstorms that eventually start to circulate around each other because of the curvature of the Earth, the way that it spins, called the Coriolis effect. So as the Earth spins, it allows for them to spin in unison. Once you really start to get a tight, closed center low, then we have the makings of a tropical storm. Now, of course, it depends on the winds. If winds are 39 miles per hour or greater, it's a tropical storm. If it's less than that, it'll be a tropical depression. But it's all about that closed low that really is the biggest impact here. Now, this difference between subtropical and tropical storm, regardless, the winds and the impacts are usually the same. And a decent amount of heavy rain can happen with this. Even a lower end tropical storm can still lead to a tornado probability. But this hasn't even formed yet. The front hasn't even truly arrived, so it's really tough to track this. But we are seeing a change for our Sunday forecast already. This brings us up to about 4 a.m. That's an increase of the cloud cover right over Charlotte. This could also bring some rain, mainly east of I-77. But the good news is it looks like it could make landfall, continue its way further off towards the north. If it was beelining towards Charlotte, then you kind of have a mess of a Sunday. But for right now, if you're making any weekend plans, plan on Saturday, because Saturday's super sunny before we see some approaching clouds by the end of the day. Where you have Sunday, that's a big question mark. I usually like to go by law of averages, especially with a guy that deals with a lot of percentages. 92 degrees for your Saturday, mostly sunny skies before you see those clouds creep in. Sunday, now a 50-50 shot for rain. Again, if you live east of I-77, the further east you go, the better chance for rain. That's the name of the game. And then the further you go east on our 7-day forecast or to the right, the better chance for rain you're also going to have, because 92, 94, 93, look at those percentages. It's already a likely chance on day 7 that we could have a disturbance roll in. It looks like a front could be nearby, so it's a chance for some stronger thunderstorms, but really we're gearing up and we're changing over to that usual summertime pattern that we have pop-up showers and thunderstorms. We can thank our lucky stars that we do not have that for the 4th of July. Today you have the slightest chance for a spotty shower or storm, most likely staying dry for your Friday and Saturday. So great news, drying out at the perfect time, Majestic, right? Love to see that. Again, still aiming for a break from the 90s. We'll see if Sunday comes to fruition.
All right, we'll be watching that, that's for sure. This morning, it's beautiful. I mean, look at how nice it is. I-70 and I-85 here at Sam Wilson Road is looking fantastic as people are waking up and heading out the door, not seeing any significant slowdowns for your morning commute. But as we are switching it on over to our live traffic maps, we do have a couple of new things. This one is a crash on Ballantyne Commons Parkway at Ray Road. You can see that yellow there indicating that there are some medium impacts. Just slowing you down a couple of minutes though for your Thursday morning commute. Another crash on Tyvola Road and Park Road, still seeing that same setup, yellow meaning just medium impacts there. Across Noda, Plaza Midwood for the most part, not seeing anything too impactful east of Charlotte. One ongoing crash though, I'll zoom it in for you just to get a little bit of a better perspective. It's on Tryon Street and 36th. Not seeing any blocked roads though at this point. And then Graham Street at Sugar Creek Road, continuing to follow that ongoing accident. Take it easy as you are heading out the door. This last one here on Nevin Road and Cindy Lane, mainly green. Not too concerned about it though. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here shortly.
Majestic, thanks. 8:22 now. For many families struggling to make ends meet, the path out of poverty can seem impossible to navigate alone. This morning, we have a powerful reminder that sometimes all it takes is the right support and someone who believes in your potential.
It can make all the difference. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris shares an inspiring story about how a local program is seeking solutions and helping families turn their lives around.
Common Heart's Getting Ahead program is getting set to make a difference in dozens of residents' lives throughout Union County. And one of the biggest lessons they're trying to instill in every one of their participants, having them believe in themselves.
I can breathe because I have hope now.
Jessica Ridnour admits she struggled and was buried in a financial burden trying to make ends meet for her family. She found hope after taking part in Common Heart's Getting Ahead program.
It really gives you more perspective and gratitude for things that aren't limited with your bank account.
The 19-session program enlightens people about financial, mental, and emotional resources available to help them succeed. And there are incentives too, including a Walmart gift card, plus free dinner and free childcare for every session they attend.
It took away all of the obstacles for you to just come. So all you had to do was show up.
These are the books that they use.
Where are we going with this information, and how do we build that to being able to see the future from surviving to thriving?
Dylan Fulgham with Common Heart breaks down why building self-confidence is the biggest lesson.
You know, it's really building where they want to go. It's not something that's leading that I have a journey that I want them to go through. It's where they see their potential and where they want to go.
Since completing the program, Rittenauer launched her own company, Simple Solutions CLT, unlocking a brighter path to a successful future.
I have hope, I have connections, and I have a community that not only are they supportive, but they want to see me and my family succeed.
The next session begins July 8th in Marshville. And for more information on how to apply, download the WCNC Charlotte mobile app and click on this story. In Indian Trail, I'm Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
8:24 now. We are going to take a quick break, but make sure you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update on the weather and traffic, and then more of the day's top headlines, including the latest in Washington as lawmakers are discussing the One Big Beautiful Bill. We'll be right back.
Welcome everyone to another day in the lower 90s. It is a typical July 3rd. Temperatures actually feeling more like the mid 90s, and we're gonna have a nice mix of cloud and sunshine, but I do think it gets a lot sunnier heading into the evening. Speaking of 6:05, we have the Knights versus the Jumbo Shrimp. This is significant because after the game, we're talking about that Sky Show Spectacular. So one of the best fireworks displays in the area. Tomorrow, July 4th, we have a nice high temperature range in the lower 90s, feeling more like the mid 90s and actually even less humid than what we have today. If you have any weekend plans, Saturday is definitely the better day. Now a chance for more clouds, even some rain on Sunday, especially east of I-77. Let's head over to Majestic, who might be talking about I-77. I don't know. Let's see.
Well, we definitely have things ongoing. I want to take you to I-85 right here first, though, because it is beautiful. Traffic is flowing just fine. No major concerns if you're heading out the door and you typically travel on I-85 or I-77. At least nothing out of the ordinary. There's a look at some of our drive times this morning. 26 minutes if you're coming in from Belmont, just under 30 if you're coming in from Gastonia. Multiple ongoing smaller wrecks out there as you're switching it on over to our live traffic maps. You can see Valentine's Commons Parkway. There's a wreck right there in Ray Row, seeing some of that yellow, meaning we do have those medium impacts. And then another one here, it's on Tyvola Road and Park Road. So again, grab those sunglasses. You need them this morning. It is sunny and it is bright. We have those minor ongoing wrecks here. This one right here might slow you down anywhere from about 5 to 10 minutes. It's on Tryon Street and 36th. Take it easy. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. As we get ready to celebrate the 4th of July, safety top of mind for first responders out there across our area.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us live this morning with some important reminders. So, Destiny, what are the biggest risks that we need to watch out for this holiday weekend?
Well, emergency crews say the 4th of July can be one of the busiest days of the year, and they're typically just responding to calls about firework burns, heat-related illnesses, and injuries and incidents on the water. Now, according to Medic, they say last 4th of July, they saw 2 firework burns and 1 drowning, but emergency calls went up 23% overall from the year before. The agency says most calls were for burns and heat-related illnesses. We also spoke with Novant Health, and they say burns from fireworks and sparklers are a serious risk during the holiday. Experts recommend leaving fireworks to the pros, but if you do use them, adults should be in charge. Keep kids at a safe distance when lighting them off, and keep some water nearby, like a hose or a bucket. They also warn that you should never relight a firework that doesn't go off.
We consider that a dud, so we just really advise families to not relight anything that doesn't go off, because you just never know. Again, you could go back and relight that, and then it could go off unexpectedly or too soon, so just be really careful.
Brian also stresses water safety, whether you're at the lake or at the pool. She recommends life jackets and bright colored swimsuits for better visibility of children, and adults should rotate to serve as water watchers to make sure kids are safe. And the bottom line is basically just to have a little bit of extra awareness no matter what you're doing this 4th of July holiday, so it is safe and stress-free. Ben, Lisa.
And Destiny, just a quick reminder, the rules are very different here in North Carolina versus South Carolina.
Yeah, that's correct. In North Carolina, it's anything that is explosive or projects up in the air, projectiles. Those are typically deemed illegal, and it's really just sparklers. I believe they're called trick noisemakers, snakes and glowworms, things that produce smoke. There are specific categories of fireworks that are allowed. In South Carolina, it's a little bit more lax. It's typically noise complaints from fireworks, but there's more that are allowed to be sold and purchased, not specifying any type of firework. So basically just check what the rules are where you live, but know that first responders everywhere in North Carolina and South Carolina want you to be careful no matter what type of firework you use. If you happen to have a minor burn, you can contact your primary care physician as to what to do. But the basic rule of thumb is to run that burn under cool water, not cold water, for 10 to 15 minutes. Don't apply things like butters or ointments. Don't apply ice either, because it can make the burn worse. It's really if it is a severe blister or wound, if it's in any sensitive areas like your face, for example, that's when you call 911 or go to the emergency room. So first responders will be on the lookout.
A full rundown of everything we need to know. All right, Destiny, thank you for that. Appreciate it. 8:33 now, turning back to your weather impact forecast for the holiday weekend, and looking pretty swell.
Now, I'm super pumped about this. You should be excited as well, because we have finally a drier forecast. There's only a spotty rain chance, and I think it's really only for a couple of counties down towards the south. All in all, it's going to be a nice break from the usual summertime storms today, tomorrow, and then also for Saturday. So things start to change slightly on Sunday. That's kind of the transition zone. You're looking at some upper level clouds at multiple different vantage points. So you have this one shot that's over here in Monroe. Notice that we have our head in the clouds over here in Anson County. That's physically the fog burning off. So that is phase 2, because clouds on the ground are known as fog. Once they start to warm up, they lift and they rise up, and then they just turn into a typical stratus cloud. And that's exactly what you're looking over in Anson County. Last check that I showed you for our visibilities, we're at a quarter mile. Now we're up to a half mile. Next time I show you this, if I show you this for the next half hour, likely it will be a little bit closer to 1 mile once we get around the 9 o'clock hour. The rest of us, fog free. It's been a delightful morning. Right now we're at 78 degrees in Charlotte, so that means the next update we're going to be right around 80 degrees degrees, and heading into the afternoon, you're going to have temperatures in the mid to the upper 80s before we're touching 90 degrees again by about 2 p.m. and then the lower 90s stick with us. The highs I have for you, 80 degrees in Boone, 93 in Charlotte, 93 in Lancaster, so pretty much 93 across the greater Charlotte area, just a little bit cooler off towards the north and west. If you're grilling a little bit later on, the hottest part of the day is 5 o'clock. That's where we usually have our high temperature for the day. And most just some upper level clouds. I think at that point we could be dealing with some of those puffy cumulus clouds during the middle of the afternoon. Those eventually get out of here. Still toasty heading into the evening. Light winds not really cooling you down too much, so enjoy whatever you may be doing a little bit later on. For your 4th of July weekend forecast, temperatures will warm up a little bit for tomorrow. I think Friday, your 4th of July, is actually the sunniest day that we have over the next 3. Saturday, I think we start off perfectly clear, but then we start to pick up some upper level clouds as this potential moves in. This is just red, white, and blue because of the 4th, not a red cloud of doom that we have to worry about on Sunday, just letting you know. Here's that brief rain chance I was mentioning. This is the spotty rain chance. That's all you can expect. These little specks of green likely just picking up on some darkness to the clouds, and that little area right down here is a potential for an isolated storm way down towards the south, and then poof, it disappears. So it's almost not worth mentioning, but I am going to mention it just in case. So Chester and Lancaster County specifically, I think you have the best chance, really anyone in South Carolina, maybe about early to mid-afternoon. The rest of us staying dry. I think all of us staying dry for your Friday, heading into Saturday. We have a less humid environment that's helping us out, and then a spike on Sunday and then another spike on Wednesday. Sunday's really interesting because of this area of orange. Before, this outlook was either side of Florida. Now it is specifically off of the Carolina and Florida, Georgia coast. So this is likely going to become either subtropical or tropical storm Chantel, and at the lowest, I think it will become at least a tropical depression. There's some boxes that need to be checked for this to develop. But now we're officially moving this into the 2-day zone. Likely, I think it's going to be more late Saturday that we have that development. So late Saturday heading into Sunday, so pretty much day 3, we could have our first tropical storm near the Carolinas. And this is going to give some heavy rain, some gusty winds up to 50 miles per hour. Those look to be the immediate threats. But we don't even have all the ingredients in place. We're just watching to see if we have that tight rotation. It looks like we could. Check this out. This is 4 a.m. on Sunday where we could have a landfalling system. So definitely stay engaged, stay up with our forecast here on WCNC Plus as that draws a little bit closer, because if you're going to the beach, that's going to affect you. Your 7-day forecast, we have lowered our temperature to 88 degrees on Sunday because of it. And then we're back to the usual summertime pattern, rocking mainly the lower 90s with daily storm chances Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond. Let's see what's beyond our traffic report with Majestic. What do you have for us?
All right. Good morning, everyone. If you're just waking up and joining us, it is beautiful, and most of our area roadways are looking all right. Nice and dry, sunny skies. Not seeing anything significantly impacting your morning commute. If you are driving in this morning from Belmont, about 26 minutes, and if you're coming in from Gastonia, just under 30. A few minor incidents, though, that I am continuing to follow for you very carefully. This one right here, it's on Ballantyne Commons Parkway and Ray Road. Not seeing major problems, but again, it might slow you down just a bit. Take it easy if you have to travel right around that ongoing wreck. Another one here on Tyvola Road and Park Road. Again, seeing some yellow indicating those impacts are there, but again, no lanes are currently blocked. Want to zoom in here over towards the Noda area where we do have a wreck that's ongoing. It's on Tryon Street and 36th. You can see that yellow. It's actually extending about 1 mile right now, so that'll surely slow you down a few minutes this morning. And then finally, this one here, it's a crash on Graham Street and Sugar Creek Road. We'll have another check on the roads coming up here in just a bit. Ben.
All right. Majestic, thanks. If you plan to hit the roads this weekend, you may want to head out early to avoid the worst of it. AAA predicting 62 million Americans will drive for the holiday, including 2.3 million right here in North Carolina. If you are leaving today, experts say the best time to travel is between now and noon. So go ahead, hit the road. You probably want to avoid between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. That's the worst. Tomorrow, traffic's going to be the worst between noon and 7. So again, morning time might be the best. Right here on WCNC Plus, AAA Public Affairs Director Tiffany Wright explains why we're seeing a surge in travel.
Tiffany, in North Carolina, you're talking about historic travel numbers. Why is that? Why are we seeing the surge?
You know, we've been seeing the surge over the last few years, and if Memorial Day was an indicator of what we're going to see for this Independence holiday, it's going to be a busy one. I think the big reason why travel has just bounced back, I mean, it goes back to the pandemic. It goes back to restrictions being lifted and all of us being so excited about traveling. And what we're seeing at AAA as far as bookings go, as far as trips go, is that people aren't just, while they're taking the short jaunts to the beach or to the mountains, they're doing big bucket list trips, right? You know, you look at destinations, people are going to see Mickey, they're going to Orlando. We're talking about international destinations. They want to go see Rome. They want to go to Paris. So people are really taking advantage of traveling. They don't want to wait for another pandemic to happen or something like that to put these travel plans on hold. So I think that's the big reason.
Again, a lot of folks on the road, a lot of folks flying. What are some of the most common issues folks face either on the road or when they're flying?
Yeah, so, you know, we've seen an increase, you know, in just about every mode of transportation, planes, trains, automobiles. Everybody is going, you know, to spend this Independence holiday. And they're doing so, you know, just about any mode you can imagine. I think when it comes to airports, you know, we always like to say the rule of thumb is, you know, for a domestic flight to get to the airport 2 hours ahead of time, for international 3 hours. I would actually pad that. I would actually pad that another 30 minutes just to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to get through those security lines. It's just people don't expect. And for a lot of people, they haven't even traveled this year. So this is their first big trip and they get to the airport and they've got a rude awakening. They're going, wait, it's going to take me this long to get through the line. So I think the main thing is to make sure that you're getting to the airport on time. You know, a lot of times we can't anticipate cancellations or delays, but you can do your part by making sure that you get to the airport on time. But yeah, it's going to be crowded. I would also say, as far as road travel is concerned, because you mentioned road trips, you're going to see a lot of congestion around tourist attractions, right? And around your big metro areas, around any kind of tourist attraction. So if you could avoid those areas, it's not easy to do, but if you can avoid those areas, maybe you'll see a little less congestion. But yeah, it's going to be crowded out there for sure.
Tiffany Knight there. You can watch that full interview anytime right here on WCNC Plus. If you're a parent who depends on free summer school or after school programs, this story could impact you. The Trump administration pausing more than $6 billion in federal funding, and that includes programs right here in Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard shows us what could disappear if that money doesn't come through.
For many families, after-school programs and summer programs are a lifeline, but with money dwindling away, some may be forced to scale back or even shut down. After-school programs are more than just childcare. They're also a safe space for their children to finish their homework, eat a snack, and wait for mom or dad. A safety net that's now sitting in limbo for many families, with money being put on hold.
And that money was money that community organizations in big ways was able to use to fund their organizations.
Rodney McGill is the founder and executive director of Save Our Children movement. He says the lack of funding continues to put many programs in a tight spot.
Some people have put on additional charges because they don't have extra funding to pay for staff.
This comes as the Trump administration is withholding billions of dollars for after-school programs. That includes cuts to the 21st Century Community Learning Centers grant, potentially eliminating hundreds of after-school programs here in North Carolina.
That's 40 hours where children in low-income areas are in a situation where they're eating, they're socializing, they have supervision. Children are going to be affected.
As money sits in limbo, McGill says he's hoping organizations will find ways to make up for the losses, because for some kids, there's no plan B.
Instead of staff, get some interns. Instead of paying for food at these places, you got food services like Caring for America and organizations like Feed Charlotte that we work with to get us food in place.
Tradisha Woodard, WCNC Charlotte.
8:44 now. As House leaders work to push the president's bill through, critics warn that it could cut Medicaid for more than 500,000 people in North Carolina. While the president argues the bill will cut wasteful spending, experts say it would hit people with pre-existing conditions, especially those living with HIV or AIDS. According to AIDS United, 40% of adults living with HIV rely on Medicaid for treatment. The bill would also slash funding for federal HIV prevention and surveillance programs.
We do a lot of testing, which is all threatened in the bill. The funny thing about the entire situation is that there's really not that much communication. It's like it happens really fast.
Experts warn rural hospitals will feel the impacts first, and it could soon ripple into Charlotte.
A North Carolina doctor is scrambling to figure out how she's going to continue her work helping sickle cell disease patients after the National Institutes of Health canceled her $750,000 research grant, citing DEI and divisiveness as a factor. This, even though we know the disease affects 90% people of color and very few groups of any other sort. Amy Cho now reports on it.
It's a blood disorder that causes excruciating pain. Sickle cell disease means the red blood cells are shaped like sickles and can't flow properly. That causes lifelong issues such as strokes, lung problems, and infections.
So basically, someone who's 50 years old, it was functioning like someone who's 80 years old. So that was what we found in our original pilot. So I really felt like we have to do something.
Dr. Charity Oyedeji is a hematologist at Duke University. For the past 8 years, she's been working on a project called Sickle Fit, which helps patients do physical therapy to deal with the chronic pain and health issues.
People that couldn't do something as simple as get out of a chair without assistance are able to do that now.
But 2 weeks ago, the NIH told her it's taking away her funding, citing a low return on investment. It also said studies involving DEI support unlawful discrimination on the basis of race, which harms the health of Americans.
I was very sick to my stomach when I first saw it. I just could not believe it. Even small disruptions in research can have really major negative impacts.
One patient tells News 4 the sickle cell research at NIH saved his life. Lindrick Holmes from Austin, Texas, took part in a gene therapy study that changed his blood cells back to normal.
It's a debilitating disease. My ability to actually do what everyone has been saying Americans should do, pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. I wouldn't be able to do that if without the research that was done.
Holmes is still taking part in a 15-year study on the long-term effects of the treatment to make sure it's safe for others in the future. And while his study is still being funded, Holmes says he was saddened to hear about the funding for Sickle Fit being slashed.
It feels like they're using DEI as a euphemism for another word, for another derogatory word towards people that they don't like.
As for Dr. Oyedeji, she's planning to appeal the NIH decision to cut her funds.
Evidence clearly shows that this type of research prolongs life, improves function. These grants were originally awarded because of their merit.
She also plans to search for other sources of funding and says she's hopeful her work can continue.
Amy Cho with that report. New data this morning shows fewer Americans plan to host cookouts or picnics this 4th of July. While most will still celebrate, experts blame rising food costs for the decrease. On average, Americans are expected to spend a little more than $92 on food this year. That's up from $90 last year and $71 just 10 years ago. However, the 4th of July remains the second most popular holiday in the United States, behind the winter holidays. Okay, so for those of you who are firing up the grill this holiday weekend, you'll want to make sure that you do so safely.
WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg talked with safety experts to get some tips that you'll want to keep in mind.
First things first, you'll want to make sure your grill is working properly.
If you aren't able to light a gas grill after the first 2 attempts, you need to turn it off, let it air out, and then inspect why that might not be working before you continue to try and light it to avoid any flare-ups or, big explosions of gas.
When it comes to the actual food, an important reminder from the USDA for the chefs: wash your hands, keep raw meat away from other food, and cook it to the proper temperature. For turkey and chicken, that's 165 degrees, 160 for sausage, and 145 for steak. When cooking, make sure there is enough space between the flames and your home.
You got to watch what you're burning and where the wind's blowing. If there's a lot of embers and it's blowing towards the structure, whether it's your house, your neighbor's house, your kid's playhouse, you got to monitor that, because sometimes those hot embers could result in a fire somewhere else.
Never leave a fire unattended, and put out the flames when you're ready to go in. When you're done, a reminder to clean the grill properly. Your wire brush can fall apart with a bristle getting stuck on the grill. If that ends up in your food and you swallow it, the consequences can not only be medically expensive, but also deadly.
one little bristle, unrecognized, could get lodged into various areas of the body, whether it's in the throat, in the tonsil region.
Megan Bragg, WCNC Charlotte.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here's a quick look at what's happening down in Florida. And I thought we were going to be talking about the sandbags down in Florida because they've been actively preparing for a potential flooding that they're going to be seeing. Now, it's going to be right through the central part of the state. I'll wait for the contour to catch up for this for our graphic. This is showing up to about 3 to 5 inches of rain that is potential right around the Florida area. Just being patient. Come on, graphic. You can do it. Well, just take my word for it. Up to 3 to 5 inches is going to be a possibility. Sometimes these graphics with the overlays don't always pop up. And as for the Charlotte area, I think we could see maybe, oh, there we go, just in time, right? Our rainfall forecast showing up to about 1/4 inch right now, and that's heading through Sunday around the Charlotte area. And this, I think, is a little bit low, but we are seeing some implications of 2 to 3 inch plus rain totals a little bit closer to Wilmington. It's all just what this system does. There's a few factors that could work against it, and it could just be a low pressure system bringing some rain, but we are seeing some indications that it's more than that. Number one, we see this number continue to grow. When I got in this morning, it was about a 50% chance for development over the next 7 days and a 10% chance over the next 2. Now it's up to 20 to 60. 60% in the meteorological world is a likely chance that this could become Chantal. So this could be a named storm making landfall in the Carolinas for your holiday weekend. So here's the development that we're seeing here. This is our max wind gusts. Check this out. You can see the winds really started to pick up here on Saturday, some of that closed circulation, and by the time we're getting close to landfall, and this is heading into early Sunday morning, we're seeing some wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. So it's always the eastern side or whatever the right side of the storm in the direction that it's traveling. That's known as the dirty side of the storm. This area is also the ones that could have tornadoes. So our forecast would really turn. If this becomes a well-defined tropical storm, which by the way, Barry and Andrea did not meet that criteria. They lasted less than a day. Still think this one could last less than a day. But this one looks like it really has a good chance for a little bit better development than the first two. And it will be actually impacting the United States for the first time. So I think the biggest impact, rain, still could see, I think, up as much as 4 inches, even though the models are saying different from that. And it's right in between Myrtle and Wilmington that we're seeing the most intense winds look like they're going to be making landfall. And the tough thing about this forecast is we don't even have the low pressure system yet. It's still over land. It eventually will work its way overseas by really Friday heading into Saturday. And once it's right here, we're picking up a lot of rain. It's drinking off the Atlantic, the warmer air, everything comes together. Since it still has this little trough involved, likely it's going to be a subtropical storm. We'll get to that. So here's a better look just of the rain. I showed you the winds. Seeing that closed circulation, that's what you need. You close circulation and winds over 40 miles per hour. We're going to be very close to that. But there's a lot of wind shear. So wind shear breaks these storms up, so it might not look as pretty, but you see this little tail, you are looking at a pretty good chance of some of those outer bands that could form. So really heading into Sunday morning, one, we're going to see the clouds here close to Charlotte. This isn't a big rain event here. It just makes it cloudy, and we'll have a chance for some of the far western bands to reach us, but it does definitely change your beach forecast heading into the holiday weekend. So really bad timing there, but at least Saturday is going to be good for us, right? Moving forward, I do want to show you one more thing here. The Atlantic hurricane names, as I mentioned, Chantal is coming up next. Likely this is going to be a subtropical storm because of this bottom thing. Fueled by upper dynamics and warm water, that means you still have troughs and fronts that are often involved, and the strongest winds are away from the center. We saw that. They're not around the center. They're in the eastern side. So likely we could have subtropical storm Chantal over the weekend. Again, our impacts here in the Charlotte area, just some more clouds, maybe some rain on Sunday. So that means if you have any weekend plans, it's definitely Saturday is your pick of the weekend. After that, usual summertime pattern. Let's get over to Majestic for another look at traffic.
All right, wanted to let you know about a couple of closures that'll be ongoing tonight if you are heading out to the Knights game. Of course, a big fireworks show is happening after that. Closures will be at 6 o'clock. They'll last through the fireworks, and some of them will even stay until tomorrow morning. So a few to just let you know about this one here on South Mint Street between MLK Jr. Boulevard and 4th Street. That's something to keep in mind, that it is going to be closed starting at 6 6 o'clock, and then again another one here on West 4th Street between Graham and Mint. So it is going to be a lot of fun. Lots of people heading out to see the big fireworks show. Make sure you're keeping a mindful eye out for people as they're crossing the crosswalks, and it is going to be quite congested there. You can see, though, for our area roadways, it is looking much better than it currently was just about 5 to 10 minutes ago. That accident that I've been talking about on Ballantyne Commons Parkway, it has cleared, but we're still seeing some of those backups there. Areas shaded in orange, just indicating that while it is clearing, cars are just moving rather slowly. And then this is also clearing here. It's on Tyvola Road and Park Road. So good news there, not seeing anything too significant at this point.
All right. Majestic, thanks. We're going to take a quick break and then keep it right here for WCNC Plus. Coming up in just a few minutes, Jane Marnell is going to join us from the Live Impact Stream Studio. She's going to be talking about budgeting for 4th of July celebrations and a new app that helps shoppers save on groceries. That's coming your way right here on WCNC Plus.
Happy 3rd of July, everybody. We have a high heat index about 96, 97 today. Actual air temperature only reaching the lower 90s. So just a slight humid air to what we have for a typical beginning to July. The skies show spectacular, especially at Truist Field. The Knights, once that game is concluded, will have one of the best fireworks shows around the area. And those temperatures will be right around 80 to 83. So that's perfect weather, mostly clear skies for the fireworks display. For tomorrow, for your 4th of July, things are trending a really good direction. Your weekend forecast could be cooler with more clouds on Sunday. Majestic, what's going on?
All right, if you are heading to the Knights game tonight for the big fireworks show, we do have those closures that'll be ongoing. It's going to be very busy tonight in the uptown area. Closures will begin at 6 o'clock South Mint Street between MLK Jr. Boulevard and 4th Street. In addition to that, we have 4th Street between Graham and Mint. So take it easy as people are going to be out there having lots of fun. One wreck right now that we're continuing to watch is right here on Woodlawn Road and Nations Crossing Road. Take it easy. Have a great day.